Welcome to the Reality Revolution. I'm very excited to have Benjamin Sumohano today, a reality creation scholar. There's not very many people on the internet that come and know a lot more than me, and Benjamin's one of those. Many times we've gotten into some interesting literary discussions, and I've learned a lot from Benjamin. So I was really excited to have him on the show so that we could discuss and juggle some of these issues that we're both very interested in. So welcome to the Reality Revolution, Benjamin. Nice to have you.
Thank you, Brian. I'm very happy to be here, and I thank you for your kind words. Well, I feel really good to be here. Thank you.
Fantastic. Now, you're a moderator on the International Transurfing Institute group, and so you have an interest in reality transurfing. It's always cool to meet someone else that has read the book and actually, kind of seen how it applies in their life. Because there's not a lot of us. When I
we are a minority here. Yeah.
When I start talking about this stuff, I get people their eyes glaze over. And
what is that?
It sounds.
Yes, because when this part of the world, I mean, you're in the U.S. and in Mexico, in the Western world, especially in the American continent, many people are familiar, of course, with LOA. Right. We all are. But transurfing, it was not only a Russian thing, maybe a European thing. And it came later to these lands.
I had a friend from Chile recently, and so they expressed some interest, and I was able to find a translation on YouTube. But there's some Spanish translations available, right?
Well, that's the problem with transurfing. That's something I'm telling Rene Garcia, of course.
Right.
The thing with transurfing in the Spanish world, it's really mysterious. I always say that if I have the opportunity to ask Vadim one question, probably won't be nothing related to transurfing, which of course I have, for instance, and it will be a wonderful experience. But it intrigues me that in the Spanish world, we only have the first 5 books that were published like 10 years ago or so.
Right.
At the same time that many of the books were translated in the world in different languages, and that's the only thing we have. We don't have Tufte. We don't have nothing of Tufte, nothing of the later books he wrote, let alone all those books that are not even in English, that seem very interesting books, and I don't know why they are not in English. But in Spanish, we feel we've been left alone, and I don't know why, because you have been able to see that in the group. There are some Spanish speakers, people from Argentina, from Peru, from Chile, from other countries. Myself, of course, and we all, when we talk between us, we always say we don't know why we don't have more of transurfing in Spanish. I mean, even as a marketing situation or issue, it's a great market. So hopefully we soon will have these translations, because there are many people interested in the stuff, and it's sadly that many of them are learning transurfing with pirate translations.
Right.
Pirate translations in the internet.
Somebody ran it through Google Translate.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I mean, you can tell that those are Google Translate translations, because no one, obviously, or very few people will start this labor of translating the book formally without a formal agreement or something. No? So, well, hopefully this change. Vadim, if you're seeing this, please.
Yeah, Vadim, if you're watching, please, man.
Exactly. Yeah, and some people have told me, hey, Benjamin, why don't you translate it? Well, there's one reason, and one specific one, 2 reasons. One, I think this is the work for a professional translator, because there are some issues there. And the second and most important, because I will dare to translate other things. But the thing is, Vadim likes his books be translated from Russian to the other language.
And you don't speak Russian.
Obviously, I don't speak Russian. So if I were to do that, I will do it from English. And something is lost in translation, like the movie. And it could be, one translation from another. Even Dr. Salah tells about that in the interview he gave. He started making the translation from English, and Vadim said, no, it has to be from Russian. And they had to.
Well, I wonder how much is lost even in the translation English.
Yeah,
I think
exactly. Directly from Russian to English.
That are definitely lost.
Yeah, definitely. Because I bought the new book, the big book, big fat book. I didn't read the other books. I'm looking for them but right now on the internet you have to pay a lot for those books. But people have told me that there are different things. I mean, those translations, those original translations are different in some aspects, some words, some concepts.
Right.
And they say those are very interesting translations. Some people say they are better, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it will be interesting to compare that. But as you say, every translation has that risk, and from Russian to English, but it's even more. No? Yeah.
So tell me about when you first kind of accessed this information and when you realized, wow, this is a little bit different than all that other stuff. Because clearly you're like me, an information junkie that loves to read, and you probably started with Law of Attraction, like you said.
Yes, yes.
Probably Transurfing comes out, and so everybody's story is kind of different along the way. So when you first accessed, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, you mean about Transurfing?
Yeah, about Transurfing.
Yeah, yes. Well, yes, as you say, as many of us, no. I started in general. I started with The Secret, like many people, no? And I think that was the main contribution from that movie. You know, many people now will see that with a laugh and.
Right, but it's still a great starter for a lot of people.
Exactly. It's a great starter. But the thing is, before The Secret, this was a very niche sector, very niche issue, very niche topic. Sorry, and very few people knew about that. I mean, there were people that knew about Abraham and all the stuff, and even older people knew about Neville. But that's another story, you know, from the 60s and 70s, and then Neville got muted, and he has a renaissance now. But we will talk about that later.
Yeah.
But Transurfing, but with all this stuff about new thought or about manifestation. Many people were introduced to that because of The Secret, myself included. So this is something I have to be grateful. So what about Transurfing? Well, I saw the Secret. Like many people, I had some initial success, but then I stopped doing that, and just now life got in the way, and we go. And as you say, I like to jump from one thing to another. That has the benefit that it has let me know many things around the world and many knowledge that I never thought I would discover, and it has enriched my life. No?
Yeah.
So I jumped from one thing to another, and then one time I was browsing on the internet. I was browsing through Amazon. Thanks to the Amazon Kindle, I was able to buy a lot of books that otherwise in Mexico I would have never been able to buy.
Right.
To have the knowledge. So I thank God that I was born in this era because that let me knew a lot of stuff. So I was browsing on the internet on Amazon, and it popped in my suggestions for books. And this was this book, Reality Transurfing, this cover with the rainbow, and it looked very interesting. And the name, Reality Transurfing. And I say, wow, like surfing reality, you know, it was something like that. They say, hey, that's interesting. And the funny thing is, back then I only paid 90 cents for that book.
Yeah, it was the same exact thing for me. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So I started reading, and I got hooked. No, like all the people I have talked to, I got hooked in that big book. I didn't know how big it was because it was a Kindle version.
It's in Kindle, right? You get it.
So
it just keeps on going.
Exactly. I was reading and reading and reading. Hey, when this is gonna end? reading and reading. But it was a great experience. And that inspired me too much. And this was like 5 years ago, and it was a period. And I read the book sometimes, and I tried to put it on practice. And the times I put it on practice, it was good. I mean, I had successes. The only times when I having had successes when I really forgot about it or have put myself away from that. But and this was a period of time, and I thought I was alone. I thought, obviously, I know I wasn't the only one, but in my environment, and if you add to that in the Spanish-speaking world, we don't have much of that. I had no one to talk to about that. So I was just reading the book, and obviously reading other stuff and learning other stuff. And then it was like August from 2019, last August, when I discovered Renee's Instagram account. And they said they put that announcement that they had a Facebook group, and I joined it. And well, now I am the.
Yeah.
I was in the group, and I discovered that there were a lot of people from all over the world. I will say that's the United Nations. That group is the United Nations. We have people from all over the world.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and the group is people are posting 24/7 because there's all, and at any point in time there's someone awake. So
right.
yeah, it's a very
it's amazing because it is it's kind of a topic. You're not going to just bring it up with friends at dinner.
Exactly. Yeah.
First of all,
yes.
Hard.
They will
somebody
say,
says,
they
"Can you
you're
explain
crazy."
it to me? Let me explain it.
How you explain 1,000 pages in just one statement?
Right. Whatever explanation I give will limit what is really coming from it. Because there's so much to it. Yeah. But you were interested in Neville Goddard as well. That's why I was interested, because a lot of people will try to distinguish the two, like, oh, they completely contradict. They create a pendulum out of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so you were into Neville before, or kind of along the same lines?
I discovered Neville before. But then but back then there wasn't much material on the internet. There were some books on the internet, some PDFs.
Right.
And I studied it, and then with Neville happened something funny. When people read it for the first time, they don't understand it very well because he talks about God and the Father, and they think it's a religious book. Or even they think it's a Christian book.
I was instantly triggered. I was like, no.
This is so those kind of books.
Right.
And then I read other things, but then I on the internet and forums, some of the stuff, some people will say, "Oh, Neville was great," and then Neville has changed my life, and I had been able to do some things that never been done, etc. So I read it again, and I discovered what he meant. I read the lectures and the book. Then when he explains what he means when he says Father, when he says God, and and this is mind blowing. And for many people, it's challenging, especially people with religious backgrounds.
It's true.
I didn't have a very religious background, but some of it, or some part of it. But for many people, it's challenging because he's telling you, hey, what you call God is not what you think God is, and what you call Jesus is not what you think Jesus is. Is your I am, your yourself, or your higher self. But I discovered Neville briefly before, many years before. Then I rediscovered it around the same time. All this happened at the same time.
Yeah.
Between 2014 to today, I discovered a lot of materials and a lot of different teachings. Yeah, because it was around the same time I discovered Transurfing in 2015, I remember. And I rediscovered Neville at the end of 2015, 2016, and I started studying it. I bought some books. Now we had books again, printed books again, because before that it was just PDFs on the internet. And and other things along the way.
Yeah, and once you start to go into that entire bit of research, oh my God, it's eye-opening. The new thought literature, all of the reality creation. So, for a lot of people, it can be overwhelming. I've seen discussion on some boards, Brian, it's just data overload. You're just trying to get data for why you're actually it's working against you. And so I want to, hey, that's just me. I get it when some people, you should definitely apply this stuff and try to experience it. I think everybody's a little different. For me, I want to, I have that part of it that gets joy just from the knowledge of it.
Exactly. Yeah, me too. Yeah.
That's just me. You don't have to access this by going out to the library and researching it. That's what No. But I'm saying, if you do, and if that's something that appeals to you, that once you do, it's pretty interesting. So I have that episode where I try to bring it together, and it's still kind of, first of all, what are the ones that are truly contradicting, that when we talk about Neville, what are the teachers out there that if I'm choosing that teacher, it is an actual contradiction? The ones that if I'm choosing to follow that particular line of thought, it really does contradict with the rest? Is there somebody out there that that's my first question before we get into the commonalities, because everybody's trying to tell me that vibration, oh, that's completely different. When Abraham talks about vibration, that's completely different than everything else. What, you know, I've gotten that, you know, post, right? You've seen that, right? So
no. Actually, in the main teachings, I have discovered they're not so different. The world, just like you know, they're not very different from them. What I discovered is that in most cases, it's a case of semantics. Like what I say all the time. My main example that I have posted about it many times. No? The thing with desire, for example.
Right.
Many people say in Transurfing, for example, desire is a capital thing. You shouldn't have desire, because if you desire something, it means you don't have it. Right. Okay, that sounds logic. But then Neville says the first requisite to have a manifestation of to have what you want is that you have to have a strong desire.
Right.
And both have their own logic. For example, they say, well, if you desire something, it means you don't have it. Okay. But if you want to have something, you need to desire it. Because if you don't desire it, why would you have it in the first place? I mean,
right.
Yeah. So I think it's about semantics, because the way they talk about desire in Transurfing is this anxiety, this worry, this not having this.
This is between having and not having. Is that what they're kind of pushing at, right?
This is stress. This stress and distress. Oh, I don't have it. I'm suffering because I'm not, and I have this lack in my life. Obviously, that is bad. And when Neville talks about desire, he talks about this joy that when it was Christmas and you knew Santa was coming and he was going to bring you this present, and you knew it was for sure. He was gonna hopefully he was gonna bring you that present or any present. So in the end, we're talking about the same. It's just presented in different ways.
You know, one of my favorite, and we can also talk about, is Frederick Dodson.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I think that he's kind of a Neville scholar. Neville, he's into Neville too. He quotes him when he says desire means that we actually have it in another reality.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's not a separation. It means, you know, that's something that we can actually experience.
Exactly.
And to me is what is appealing to the idea of desire and the way that Neville teaches it, right?
Yes, the same. I think the same. There is he says another version of you in a lifeline, life's rock, or multiverse, as you want to call it.
Right.
Very close to you has that. And it's the resonance of that is filtering to this reality.
Right.
So yeah, I agree. So I think it's okay. And they're the same. Other things, other teachings, I haven't found anything that is extremely different.
Right. So let's delve into that. Yeah. We were talking about parallel realities.
Yes.
We had discussions where you read a physicist like Sean Carroll, who's telling us, well, there may be parallel realities, but it has nothing to do with us.
Exactly.
And we kind of had a discussion. There's almost an agenda by some of these physicists that if it enters the realm of metaphysics or woo-woo, there's almost a just shut down the door. We're going to immediately refuse to even be acceptable of it. So there's a group in scholarship out there that is scared to death.
Exactly.
Of what we're talking. Is that your impression? Because
it's the same.
I believe that the physics is really where it's at. On some but the people that are teaching and exploring it absolutely are horrified at that, right?
Yes. I think it comes down to what happened with Robert Sheldrake. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Robert Sheldrake.
Robert Sheldrake. He even has a book that is anathema in the science world because it's known. The book is titled "The Science Delusion."
Right.
And there was some controversy because he gave a TED talk. And that TikTok, I think it was banned. Now I think you can find it now. I haven't read for it on YouTube, but it was banned for a time, or TED put it away and is now underground because scientists, because many times they depend on funding from universities. They worry about a lot of prestige, about their names. I think some of them secretly believe that there's something more, and we're talking about the scientific terms, not Google terms, but I think some of them think there is something more on some, or some of this stuff has some base or some way of connect both worlds, but they are afraid of losing their prestige or their image,
funding,
self-image,
right?
or the funding. Yeah, the funding. I mean, I don't think it's a conspiracy that the powers that be, the Illuminati don't there's a valid venue to them, but the Illuminati don't want us to know the truth, so they control all that. But possibly, well, we don't know. But I think it's more about funding, about self-image, about their names. Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing about the transurfing model is he's really exploring, there is kind of a tension between these other realities, that we can sense these other realities in the alternative space, particularly when we're accessing future states. He's not saying that we can jump right in, but we are sensing them. Is that your impression, that there's if we're getting, if we feel when we get on a plane that a little sense of danger, that might mean in another reality that plane, that we're in a plane crash, right? I'm getting a little bit of that, but he was very delicate not to bring too much of the physics terminology into that, but I'm getting his interpretation of that. What is your impression of that?
Yes. Well, with the example of the plane, he also, I remember he talks about, in that case, it was not so much, if I remember, was not so much that the plane crashed in another dimension, but that it was a sign, from this dimension, that it was possible that the plane crashed. So he talks about a lot of put attention to signs, and that it could be your higher self or your guardian or your observer, that he can perceive, or it can perceive some things that your lower self can't, and that it helps you to navigate through the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's get your opinion on some of the more controversial topics.
Yes.
You have helped me. So, as I've learned when I did a video on what Vadim says about trying to get your ex back.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. When I even just the mention, obviously when we say SP, that's because people talk about it so damn much they need to abbreviate it.
Yeah, well, it's an American thing.
I saw some other groups. I'm already being labeled. Oh, Brian's that anti-SP guy. I'm like, what? So, first of all, my question was, Neville doesn't talk about it that much. He had a second one. He really doesn't, right?
No, he doesn't.
He's not somebody in every lecture talking about you can have a specific person. It feels to me like somebody really wanted to manifest a specific person, which obviously is possible.
Yeah, that's something that we need to make this clear. It is possible.
It can happen.
I've
I am
seen
not
this
saying
happen.
I've seen people do it. I've done
exactly.
it.
Yes.
It can happen.
It can happen. Right? Yes, definitely. It's something that exists out there.
Absolutely.
Now, that you should or shouldn't do it, that's another story. That's something different. Yeah, but it can happen. I can recommend some people a book that will help you with that a lot. I don't know if I should do it. But
please.
There's a book. There's a book on the internet, and it's only on the internet because it's not it's on Amazon, but because it belongs to no one, or the author probably didn't want to
be affiliated with it.
Related to that. I don't know. This book has been circulated on the internet, and I saw it on Amazon with another name. Another person do it, but doesn't matter. The book is called Mind Power Seduction.
Okay, so I think I'm aware of that, and there's been an alternate title, and it's kind of like in the more magic,
Yes. More the magic, but it doesn't.
And it's a thin little book. Yes, I'm aware of it. Right?
Yes. Because because back then there were two books that were competing. This was early 2000s, the end of the 90s, the early 2000s. It was Mind Power Seduction by Amarji Healer, which I don't even know if it's a male or a female.
One is by Thor. I think his name is Thor something. Or
no, I don't know. Okay. That one I don't remember.
Okay.
And the other was a series of books by Joseph Plasso, It was called Psychic Seduction, Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, yeah, to number 6. Yeah.
I think
Yes, you have it?
I don't want to bring the cover. I have one.
I have it printed too. And yes, these books are very powerful. I like Amarji's better.
Right.
And what Amarji, I will assume he's a he because I don't know if it's a male or a female. I think it's a male. He back then in the early 2000s, he had a forum. I mean, a web page from his own. But somehow around 2003, he ditched it, and we have never seen anything from him again. And the book is on the internet. Right. It's a good book in the sense that is true and it's very powerful. If you do that, you will get what you want. Now, if you should or you shouldn't, I don't know.
That's my question as doing YouTube videos as a coach. There's always that question of should, right? Yeah. There's that question of, do I want to tell you that you can have a specific person? Sure. But I'm telling you something that's really amazing. When you let the universe, there is somebody better than that specific person a lot of times, at least in my own experience. But I'm fascinated by the passion behind it.
Yes, it's passion. Just type on YouTube how to attract your SP, and you find a lot of videos.
Oh my God! So
yeah.
Please, anybody, don't define me as the person that doesn't believe it. I really want to answer this question. I believe you can, and so Neville, it's attracted to people that are into the Neville Goddard. Absolutely.
Yes. Although Neville never talked about related to attracting a person in the sense of love or in the sense of a romantic interest. He said that you can influence people. He put other examples, but he never used the love example. Well, when somebody asks me directly, hey, what do you think? Should I do this or not? Or what I answer to them is, here's the thing. I could tell you don't do it because not because some karma will come back to you or anything else. I could tell you don't do it, but let's be real. The only way you can learn that it's something you shouldn't do or whatever is once you've done it. I mean, it's those kind of things that you won't hear people. I mean, if they tell you don't do it, you have to do it to understand that not that it's bad, but that probably or many times is not what you were looking real. Right. It's not what you really needed. And it's for example, I know the technique. I know perfectly the technique. I know I could do it. I mean, I'm in a Starbucks. There are beautiful girls here. I could do it. But till now, I haven't found one person that is worth all the hassle because it is work. I mean, you have to do some work. Involved. It's work. You have to do sessions. You have to have to do this many days in a row. I mean, it's work.
Right.
Till now, I haven't found a person that for me is worth all the hassle. So I just go the regular way. But you can do it, and if you want to do it, you will do it. But one important thing, if people wants to do that, is I think is the key ingredient to have success with this or not is the detachment.
Exactly.
I found sometimes I've done this. My past lives, I've done this just for fun. Just okay, let's see what happens. I mean, just in a briefly situation. No,
not making it important.
Not really. I mean, this girl was. Let's see what happens.
Right.
And those times are the ones where this has worked like a charm. I mean, instantly with the powerful that you would never believe it.
Right.
Back in the day when I was your gaga for this girl. Oh, I love this girl. Although I have never talked to this girl, but I'm so in love with her and all stuff. And I done this stuff. Usually it didn't work because I was too involved, too emotionally attached, and that hinders the process.
Right, which is what is happening with a lot of the people that are so obsessed with this specific person. Is they're putting them on a pedestal, and they're making it so important. There's balancing forces coming in right away, which is why transurfing is actually a way that can help you get your specific person. But if I tell you that, it's kind of like it's the Chinese finger toy kind of a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah, but I think balancing forces has a lot to do with this.
Right.
Yeah, and just like with any other manifestation, yes.
So the next thing I wanted to talk about, the one thing that brings most people into the law of attraction and reality creation is money.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of times, hey, somebody needs to pay their credit cards off, and it's a place to go that gives them a sense of control. And so that's part of it for me. So, who is your favorite teacher along that line, using these concepts to attract wealth?
Well, I must say that and this what I'm going to say right now is the perfect example of what I said about this love thing.
Right.
Because recently, or for many years of my life, I've been worried about money. I mean, thanks to God, I'm okay. Well, right now I'm unemployed, but hopefully I will be okay. But during many times of my life, I've been worried about money, just like everybody, you know. Right. So since I put a lot of pressure on this money thing, and it's something that is really important to me,
right?
I haven't had the full success. What?
It's hard not to make it important.
Exactly. Yeah. And I haven't had the full success that I wished I had, because I know, and I'm transparent with this.
Right.
It's something that worries me, and even though you know what you have to do, I mean, intellectually you know what you should do, that you should not put importance to this, that you should drop importance, that you know, all that, no? But we're still humans, no? Right. So since this issue has been a difficult thing for me, I haven't had the full success that I should have, or that I would love to have. But I think the teachings, the more straightforward teachings, are Neville's. And not, well, yeah, Transurfing, okay. No, in Transurfing, the teachings are about the drop importance, because it's a very important thing. Contradictory, it's a very important thing to drop importance. But I think Neville has there's a book from one of the Neville's books that is called The Law and the Promise.
Uh-huh.
He has a lot of examples of people that were in need of money. They needed money, and they lost their jobs. There are many things, and they wanted to buy a house, so they were going to be evicted. And there are a lot. Actually, that book is specific about examples of case stories that people wrote to them by mail back then, by post mail, and it's a useful resource to know that you can do about money with these teachings, no? With this knowledge.
Napoleon Hill, what has been your impression of Napoleon Hill when you bring this into the discussion?
Oh, well, it's great. This is one of the fathers of this, no?
That's true.
One of the first to write this. With Napoleon, what happens is that he doesn't make very clear or openly about his teachings or what he gathered in his research. He doesn't make clear that there's something mystical about it. You can read Napoleon's book.
He was afraid to go to that.
Exactly.
I got that feeling too.
You can read it both ways. You can read it as like he was the Tony Robbins back in the time or back then, or in a mystical way. Because the second secret, I mean, he talks about two secrets or two steps. No, the first was in the book, and the second he gives us that homework to decipher what is that secret, and I haven't found it. I mean, I think he was referring to the power of the mind or the power of
that was my impression.
Yes, exactly. I think it was.
But you know, his concept of the mastermind kind of goes, and people can interpret it differently. People form their mastermind groups, which is a great way, you know. But really, he was talking about creating in his own mind these ideas of different people, kind of like the allies and guardians that Zeland talks about.
Yeah.
And that's a confluence that I find interesting. Is that he would, you know, hey, I'm going to ask Abraham Lincoln about this. I'm going to ask, you know, and so I've always found
the mastermind. Yes.
The idea of mastermind. So is there a new thought author that I might not, or somebody we might not have heard of from the older days that you know, William Walker Atkinson's, the ones that you maybe have accessed that you could recommend to us?
Let me think, because the ones we both know is William Walter Atkinson and the guy who wrote about the science of getting rich, Wallace D. Wattles,
Wallace
Wattles, and which other one? There's Prentice Mulford. He was one of the older ones. I haven't read. I haven't read him, but yeah, Prentice Mulford. Which other? No, I think those are the.
So the next thing I wanted to delve into a little bit.
Yeah.
You introduced me to Gerald O'Donnell, and oh my gosh, he's amazing. He's amazing. So help me to access this a little bit. Now he has some videos where he's giving a message from the one.
The one, yeah.
He channeling.
Yes, God? Well, I recommend you to listen in his website, which is ourbarry.com, Academy of Remote Viewing and Remote Influencing.com.
Right.
And there's a section where he posts all the radio interviews he has done over the years, starting in 2005. I think it's still there. Those actually I have his courses. I knew you were going to ask about Gerald, so I bring these.
Well, yeah. While you're looking, I was going to just the cool concept that he talks about, which is very Neville-ish, is that God reached a point where he just got bored.
Exactly. Yeah.
He just got bored. And so the universe that we're in is a result of this.
And it's controversial issue, no?
And decided to separate himself out to experience all of these different experiences.
Exactly.
And so we go back to the one at some point, way down the road.
Yes. He talked, actually, I saw a meme the other day. Some people has posted I think even in the group that says a person is in a hotel room and he talks to the front desk and he says, "Can you give me a wake-up call?" And the girl answers, "You are the universe experiencing itself."
Exactly.
That's it. And it's the same. Well, Gerald O'Donnell, this is the remote viewing course. Yes. And this is the remote influencing course.
All right.
Now, he doesn't sell this anymore. I mean, in a CD package.
So I got to go on PayPal or eBay.
Right. Well, yes, you can find it. But the same course, there's exactly the same. He sells it right now in his website, but it's an online course. Right. It's the two courses together in a single course. All the sessions. I mean, nothing is lost. It's exactly the same. Right. And this new course is called the Portal. Okay. Now, where do I start with this? Well, one distinction with Gerald about remote influencing, because this is another controversial topic.
Right.
When he talks about remote influencing, what he's talking about is manifestation. He's talking about remote influencing
people, but
not specific people.
Okay.
Exactly. Because once again, it's a semantics issue.
Right.
It's the way he talks about it. He defines it in his school. He used to work in an intelligence agencies. In his website, he worked in European intelligence agencies back in the day when all these American gang. By the way, I recommend all of you the book, the Man Who Stared at Goats. The book, not the movie.
The book is wonderful.
Yeah, it's a great book. And in there, the author John Ronson, I think it's called. He interviewed all these people. And obviously he's got a humoristic style, but it's a good material. He interviews many people who were part of that movement, that it was a real thing. Back in the day when Ed Dames, Lynn Buchanan, Joseph McMonagle, who other their names, the famous, I think I'm missing one, but these people back, and Ingo Swann a little before of them, they were working with the CIA and this remote viewing program. Gerald was working in Europe, and I think it's in England. He never defines which country. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, there was a little bit of mystery when I started delving into
he never says. He says European, Western intelligence agencies. We never said exactly
maybe Britain or something.
I think this was a Britain thing.
Right.
I think it was in Britain. Now, what the interesting with Gerald is that he's the only one that has a different approach to remote viewing. For example, I, as this information junkie that you and I are, I studied. I tried the remote viewing the regular way, that the way that all people are teaching you.
Right.
Is that you have to they give you some paper sheets, and they give you a coordinate.
Right, and then you start writing out your impressions,
and
right?
also, yeah, exactly. Gerald says, and once again, we come to once again with this thing when some teachings are crashing.
Right.
He says, "Oh, that is bullshit," and it doesn't work like that.
Right.
He says his approach is that you with techniques, with audio techniques. His work is similar to yours in the sense that he uses a lot of binaural beats with his meditations. So in this course, he around like 8 sessions, 10 sessions, and in all the sessions he uses meditations to pulverize the ego, to destroy the ego and the self, all this metaphorically, and what is only left is your higher self or your soul or whatever, bigger self. You lose the sense of your body, and this is real. That's what I say, that I never done drugs in my life, but the closest thing I have is this course. Because it's amazing. If you think that the interviews he has done are amazing, I encourage you to buy those
I'm going to be on it as soon as we're done.
because wow, it's the feeling. It's amazing. I mean, you feel like you can fly.
Right.
You lose your body, and you're just pure consciousness. and then that consciousness flies to the point that you want to explore.
Right.
He is specific in telling you that in reality you are not flying. You are, because we are one, and
because we're already there.
Yeah, we are already there. You are not moving. You're receiving packs of information. But the experience is very good. So that's his method, because he says that we are all made of particles of light, but it's not the light that we know, the usual light. No, it's a different kind of light. He explores that. He has 2 books that are with the courses. Mm-hmm. Actually, the remote influencing book, it's for free in his website. You just subscribe to his email list and you receive it. And the book from remote viewing, it's all there too. And he describes that we are made of particles of light, or it's a rotating light and black light. And he talks about that we are in this matrix. That, of course, many people have talked about that. Right. We are in this matrix that the one created as like a child's, I don't know, like a child's backyard, or like when you go to the playground. Yeah, that's the word. The playground to explore and practice these abilities. Now, what you were saying about the one? Yeah, he says that the one is what we know as God. Right. And he says he's channeling the one. He calls it most of the time. He calls
some of that
one.
Stuff is really interesting.
Yes. And each year he sends each January 1st of each year. I've been receiving those emails like since 2014. Right. And each January 1st he sends an email with the message of the one. Right. So those are very interesting messages. You can say, well, probably it is, probably it's not, probably he's just making this up, probably.
Well, the one sounds pretty concerned.
Exactly.
And the most recent one, like,
it's pretty concerned. Yes.
Like everything's kind of getting out of control, kind of like.
Exactly. And he's just a warning. I can get tired of you, and I can disappear this reality just like that, because I wonder, and I'm surprised that he hasn't done it yet. Because what we as humanity has done.
His idea that the computer, is he talking to humanity or all of reality?
Exactly. No, I think he's talking about this creation, because in that video that you posted in your page, he talks about there are many worlds, but many creations. And this is just one of the creations, and that this is a very interesting creation, because we have the things that we have here, like the sense of smell, of touch, or the way in which we are limited, but at the same time, the way in which we can feel give us an advantage, if that is possible, to other creations that have it better, or have it not so in a not so suffering way.
Right.
But the advantage that we have is that we can feel things and we can experience things that they can't, because they are in the upper levels. and we don't.
Which resonates with me. If
yes,
what he is saying feels like there's some truth to it, and it goes along with even the law of one and the stuff that I was.
Yes.
It's very interesting. So thank you for introducing that. I'll definitely.
I recommend you to listen to all those radio interviews, no podcast interviews.
I will,
and hopefully you can have it here in your podcast, because it will be.
I would love to interview him. We'll see. We'll put that.
He's very open. He's very open, and he will see what you have done.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
So let's go back to Transurfing a little bit. 1,000-page book. What are some things in Transurfing that you don't hear discussed? The thing about the Facebook group, I mean, it's great. I love everybody on there, but clearly a lot of people have not read the book. They're just and they're just posting stuff. So
exactly.
And I do not claim to be an expert, and I'm still reading and I'm learning stuff all the time. It's just a lot of material. So what are some things in Transurfing that you don't hear discussed that do you understand what I'm asking? Like that we should talk about maybe a little bit more? Is there some concepts or ideas in the Transurfing book?
Well, what I've seen is that we pretty much talk about all the topics in general in the book.
Right.
As you say, many people don't. That is one thing that I don't like about, and this is the debate between, for example, rock bands when they are very niche, very indie, and when they go mainstream. Sometimes they say, "Oh, they lost their mojo. They're a sellout now," or well, I loved them before when they were just very obscure and no one know them.
Right.
But the band says, yeah, guy, but I need to eat. So and with Transurfing, I'm very happy that this group, the International Transurfing Institute community, has grown a lot in a very, very short time.
You can't sell out the truth.
Exactly. It's
going to grow, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm very happy. The only downside, but it's just a minimum thing. I mean, it's not it's nothing. No, I mean, I'm still all about all on the growth of this group. No? Right. But the only downside is that you have many people that are not really into that, or they just listen to, oh, what is this Transurfing, or that a friend of a friend of a friend invites them to the group.
Right.
And they're not really interested in that, and they say, okay, let's see what it is. No. All that this has its own merit, because they probably, once they are in the group and they see all the stuff on what the things are posted, or the Renee's videos that has been very helpful to explain this to people, they will learn. But sometimes, I've seen that many people don't read the book, maybe because they feel threatened or they overwhelmed from the idea of reading almost a 1,000 pages book. No, I mean it's like Game of Thrones books. No,
people need to break it down. The best thing is it's really into small sections. So kind of like the Bible.
Exactly. Yes, I say
separate them out.
Yes, I said that before, that I try to read it like the Bible. No, with all due respect, which is Transurfing and Neville. I read those two books like the Bible, a little bit each day.
A little bit each time. and that's how it's helped me to learn. So
yeah.
But I find Vadim Zeland very interesting. There's something, as a writer, he's purposely not putting himself out there. There's some mystery to it, maybe on purpose.
Exactly. Yes, that's the thing I admire with him, because for one reason, but I don't know why, I'm very interested in cults.
Absolutely.
I'm a Scientology junkie, in the sense that, not because I'm into Scientology,
right, but just the way it forms, how it works, right?
But all the things that has happened with that, no?
Right.
I watch a lot of videos and I read a lot of books from ex-members.
Me too, about that.
Well, so you know where I'm talking
People
about.
People that get stuck in it. And
exactly. No, because the subject is fascinating to me. Actually, they have a term. The ex-members, they have a term for that for us. They call those the never-ends. And they are fascinated too, that why we are so interested in that. Maybe because I think I saw it as a thing that could be, that had the potential to be good, and then maybe something at the very beginning was good, and then you all went to hell. And
clearly there is something in it that is effective, because people are going in it and they're applying it, and then it's working, and then all of this other stuff.
Exactly at the beginning. So, if you have people at the very beginning stage and they put it out or ask them, they will say, "Oh, this thing has changed my life," and probably yes. The problem is what comes next.
Well, you've heard about the Avatar group, isn't that supposed to be? I think it's the Avatar. I don't want to. There's a group where people are applying some of these, but they're not a part of.
Oh well, there are many splinter groups. There are a few now, because back in the 80s they were attacked very harshly, as we know, and some of them really had it very hard. But there are some groups right now. There's a group that in Europe there is called the Runs Org. And I haven't heard about this Avatar, but probably they are. Yeah, that will be probably a helpful way for people to practice this, the part that is effective, no? Which is basically the very beginning phase, no? I always say
reacting. I think that
exactly.
Teaching,
yeah, well,
there's something to that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's just when people take a truth and they manipulate that truth and use it to do something beyond it.
Exactly.
That it's frustrating.
Exactly. But
it's going to happen, So
exactly. Yeah, we all have these risks.
Apply the transurfing. Somebody's going to come along 100 years from 1,000 and apply the transurfing, and then it'll diverge into some weird.
Well, we have all that. We all have that risk now. But coming back to what I was saying, this in the first place, we were talking about Vadim.
Right.
What I like about Vadim is that probably he's very aware of this stuff, and he is very careful to not fall into this. And so far, he has succeeded. What I mean by this, I think it's on purpose that he's this mysterious figure, that he doesn't go out, he doesn't talk very much. You barely can find any videos of him. Actually, there's only one video from him. And because he doesn't want to fall into this cult leader trap. Because we as humans have actually, I will read you a quote that I read. This is not by any scholar or anything. It's by a guy that's a friend from Facebook that used to be in the group. He's not there anymore. But he wrote this phrase in his Facebook account, and I really love it because it's a human condition. Let me hopefully I find it.
Well, we were talking about it with Teal Swan. We were talking about her.
Yeah.
She's got some videos that are fantastic, very informative and interesting.
Yes.
You're seeing the way that people respond to her. It's another dynamic. It's interesting,
Yes, exactly. Yes. Well, I will try to read this quote very, very rapidly. Yeah. It says, over the past couple of months, it has become increasingly clear that the primary programming of humans is not to be loved or to survive, but to obey. The first instinct of humans is to find someone to follow. People have an insatiable desire to join an organization so that they can be told what to believe and other stuff. But let's say it like that. Let's leave it like that. Yeah, I think there's a part of human nature that many.
I think you're freezing up on me. I lost you, man. Oh man. All right, we're back.
Okay, we had a little brief technical, but okay, we're back again.
About Zeland, yeah.
Yes.
So you had also read some of his other books, and okay, let's talk about the piece, this It Fat. I mean, you did a really great review on that, and we both, I kind of read a little bit of it on the channel.
Yeah.
What is now that you've had a little bit to simmer on that, was he just exploring a creative side of this, or what do you think is going on with that book?
Yes, I think he was exploring. What I found is that Vadim has a good sense of humor.
Yes.
A very Russian sense of humor, which we are not used to. So some things are different. As you said, I told you that back then, or we talked about that the humor remind me of Mikhail Bulgakov, the Master of Margarita.
The Master of Margarita.
I felt that Margarita, yes, and I felt that atmosphere, no?
Right.
So I think it's a Russian sense of humor, some like a surreal environment. Maybe he's a fan of Salvador Dali. I don't know.
So we got to talk about
And,
Tufte then, because every
yes,
one of my
yes, yes,
guests, I'm going to talk about Tufte.
yes.
So let's resolve the debate or give our own opinion on it. Is he channeling Tufte?
At first, I thought it was, but actually, he's because there's some once again because he's got a great sense of humor.
Right.
In his Medium account, he's got a Medium account. Very few people know that, and their articles
really
are for
good.
free. Yeah, and his articles are for free, because you have to pay for Medium, but there are some articles that are free. His articles are free. There's an article about Tufte that I believed when he said that she was a priestess, that she lived in the temple of Isis. But later I discovered, and Renee told us, and actually, yeah, I think Renee told us publicly. I mean, in one post in the Facebook group, that is a character. Yeah,
It's
she
a
said
character,
that.
right?
Yeah, there is a character because she that you remember that there was a time when she dressed as Tufte for Halloween.
Right.
And some people said, "Hey, how
People
you
got
dare
angry.
to dress like Tufte? Tufte is like a virgin or whatever, and yeah, why are you to dress like her?" And she explained that she's a character, and well, I think it's channeling this information in general, but the Tufte is a way of presenting things in a different way.
It's a creative way, a very fun way of presenting this information, which is dry and hard to teach. So it makes it fun to access that. For me personally, that's what I.
Yeah, that's fun. I mean, I like it. I mean, since the first time, I never took personal. Then she says, "Oh, you snails, or you bunch of idiots, or whatever." I mean, I knew it was part of the book. I mean, and I know that he's not really calling us snails or idiots. I mean, it's a character. So yeah, and it's a fun way to learn.
Right. Yeah. So what is your impression of the plate? I don't know the correct. The plate. Okay.
Well, here, this is interesting. When I first discovered the plate, I was fascinated with the plate. I am too. I'm fascinated with the plate. And my question was, oh God, how did he find about this? How did he discover the plate and all the stuff?
Yeah.
Later, I discovered and rereading and you put on notice this rereading Transurfing and you highlighted the part where he talked about that I discovered that he's a big fan of Carlos Castaneda.
Right.
So then I discovered that the plate is the Assemblage Point.
Right.
With Castaneda, and I don't want to go very much about this. With Castaneda, I have a not personal situation because I don't know him personally, but a personal situation in the way I see it. And I know many people don't see it that way, but I see it that way. I have a problem with Castaneda because for me, because he has been discovered to lie in many things. I mean, this has been studies or
I talk about that a little bit, right?
This thing is documented. I mean, it's not something that you hate Castaneda because he's successful and you're not. No. This has been proven,
right?
That he lied in many things. So that makes me to be wary of this, to say maybe yes, maybe not.
Right.
I know some things he made it up, some things he borrowed from other sources.
Right.
Those are the more important things. With Castaneda happened something that happened with me with this Spanish author. I just want to talk about it briefly. This Spanish author of the Trojan Horse book series, J.J. Benitez, J.J. Benitez. This Spanish author, he wrote this series of books that now I think they are like 11 books so far.
That's the Urantia one that you were...
Urantia, yes. The one I talk about, Urantia. Uh-huh. In these books, he talks about a project the United States did in the 70s where they sent a man back in time to meet Jesus.
Right.
And then they sent in a time machine. It's a time travel book. And then he met Jesus, and there are 11 volumes of all the things that Jesus did and talked and whatever. Now, what happens is that it was proven that the first, what he talks about in this book, is in the Urantia book that people in the English-speaking world know. In the Spanish-speaking world, we don't know Urantia book.
Right.
And the people in the English-speaking world, they don't know about this book, Trojan Horse.
Right.
Now, you
And
know
it's
how...
not translated, right? You had me look it up, and it was only in Spanish.
And here's the thing. What people have discovered is that for some reason, he has an agreement with the Urantia organization, because there's an organization.
Right.
And the agreement is people in the English-speaking world will never know about this book, and vice versa, no? So that's what you know how the conspiracy theory world in the US is.
Right.
You know how many channels, thousands, millions, if you want, channels of conspiracy theories and all this stuff. And not a single one has talked about this secret project, Trojan Horse, the time machine.
Right.
That's it, obviously, but why? How can be possible? So, well, just to say this briefly, it was documented that he took that as an inspiration, and in later years, he uploaded a video into his, I don't know if his YouTube channel, or he presented it. He doesn't have a YouTube channel. He presented that video in a news channel in Spain, where it was a video of astronauts walking in the dark side of the moon. And in this video, there were these astronauts were talking in this pyramids. There was constructions or sites, like it was like an archaeological site in the dark side of the moon, like Egyptian pyramids, like Greeks, Paternon, all this stuff, all these constructions that were on the dark side of the moon. And he presented the video, looked like the moon landing video, black and white and old and all the stuff. And he said, these are images never seen before. He presented it like that. Images never seen before. Later, like a year later, the studio that made a video, because it was a studio, a professional studio that made a video, came out and said, hey, we did that. Here's the materials, here's the video, and this is how we film it. Obviously, people were angry and say, hey, J.J. Benitez, you lied to us. You lied to us because this was made up. This wasn't from the 70s. And he said, hey, I said those were images never seen before. And you have never seen before in this image.
So
I never said they were real.
Right. So with Castaneda, that's always been so I went, because I remember when I first read it and I was, wow, this is amazing. Has anybody ever met Don Juan Matus? And I started,
exactly.
As I had explained in that video, that his ex-girlfriend wrote a book.
Yes.
She gets him to say that he's not real, but he may have accessed Toltec teachings and tried to pass it off, or maybe somebody said, you can teach this, but you can't say where you got it. Or
possibly
maybe met a shaman that said, hey, you can't use my name, or a group that said, because you're starting to see some of his teachings in other places that are unrelated. So maybe there's some truth to it.
Yes, possibly. Yes, possibly there's some truth in it. Yeah, I mean, when one of these works, there's a book that just came out. I mean, there's the book of this girl that was one of his girlfriends.
Right.
But there's another book that I think it was some university. I don't know if it was University of California or something. A book came out just recently that this book is documenting all the things that are inaccuracies. So one of the things that there are, actually, I will send you an article.
Sure.
Well, there's they explain all the things. And one of the things he says, for example, in one of his books, he took it from Indian yogi, and they show the paragraph, and it's the same. So, well, there's some truth in it. Probably that Indian yogi was onto some truth and took it, and well, okay. Yes.
I mean, with the plot, we know about the Bindu, and there's in yoga, they talk about an energy cord, but it's become something when you follow trends. So I'm interested. And anybody out there on this video, put a comment of your experiences with the plate.
Yes, exactly.
I call it the plot, but the plate.
It's a plate. Yeah. Okay.
But whatever you want to call it, right? There may be something to the assemblage point. When it was interesting when I start bringing up the assemblage point, there are people that had not accessed Tufte, that had access, that knew about the assemblage point.
Yes.
If you're talking about physics, it's the idea that there's a central point that we're accessing may have some some truth. I mean,
yes,
awareness.
it's possible.
Our eyes have a central point, right? And our spine is a central point. So there could be something to this. I think we're still learning. I think we're at the beginning stages, and I think that Vadim creatively made it. Hey, if there is, why don't we use that? If that is how we're accessing reality, and we can create our own reality, why not create the plate?
Yes. I mean, we have the plate. We have to use it. Yes.
Right. So there may be something to it, even if it's not real. We're making it real now, which the team is doing. With this, right?
Now I will compare the plate, or what the plate does, or what is stated that it does, to one thing that Bert Goldman teaches.
Yes.
Bert Goldman teaches about, very briefly, in one of his courses. He's one course about parallel dimensions.
Yes,
or
love
reality.
Bert Goldman, yeah.
Exactly, Bert Goldman, yes. So in one of these courses, he talks about the vaga. And what is the vaga? And when I heard the plate, I immediately related to the vaga. The vaga is when you took the roof of your mouth with your tongue.
Right.
I don't know, I will try to do it. And he says that when you do that, and this is an ancient yogi or Indian process, when you do that, you automatically connect with this, I don't know, this 4D world, this ethereal world, or this higher dimension. And he actually teaches, he says that you could use the vaga for finding parking spaces, or that, like, you bend reality.
I know, I remember this exact, and I've used it. When I'm driving.
Oh, wow.
I'm sticking my tongue up on the roof of my mouth.
I done it too.
And it works.
Exactly.
It works. I'm not anybody out there, when you're driving, just stick your tongue up to the roof of your mouth and say, I want to get a good parking spot. And tell me what happens.
Yes, do it, guys.
We may be accessing the same system of energy that is going on, right?
Yeah, it must be the same system. Yes, it must be the same system. Yeah. And for example, Gerald, in one of his audios, one part of these audios of Gerald O'Donnell, he teaches to do that, but with a yawn. But he teaches to do this yawn with your mouth closed.
Okay.
Which is weird, because you feel like,
right.
But it's the same. Once again, it's the same mechanism. Yes.
So no, okay. The part of it, this literature that we're talking about, that people don't talk about, that I'd love to. Have you accessed and gone and researched anything about magic, about the occult and magic? Because it's interesting when you start reading it. Some of that stuff, people are exploring techniques like Neville Goddard that end up being that kind of assimilate. They're interesting. So have you explored any of that material or literature?
Well, I read some books. I maybe because I was raised in a Catholic home.
Right.
I learned since a very early age to fear that stuff. And that programming stays with you. I mean, even if I'm not as practitioner right now as I was before, or I'm not as religious as I was before. Probably not. But that program stays with you. I remember this saying by Umberto Eco, this Italian writer.
Oh, I love Umberto Eco. Yeah.
Umberto Eco, yeah. He says that even when he lived, he said that even in his later years, he was an absolute atheist. He was an atheist, absolute. Even then, when he was at for some reason he was at a Catholic mass, and when someone did something to the called this, the body of Christ that you eat in the Catholic mass. I don't know in English how you call it, but I think someone throw it to the floor or something, and he was like shocked, and he said, even if I am an atheist, that programming stayed with me since my early childhood, that I couldn't bear that. I mean, I was afraid. I was shocked with that scene. No? So maybe that's something like that happens to me. So I explored a little the magic, not so much exploring, but I bought some books. I remember one book that I bought that it was using. I mean, the title didn't say anything about that, but once you were reading the book, said that you could use demons to to do what you want, and it was really intense. And I say, oh God, I don't want to get into that. So I leave it like that. No?
Yeah.
But some magic. But the thing with magic that I learned is that, and Vadim talks about it in Transurfing, is that the thing with magic is not so much the ritual. The ritual is like a conduct or like a way to focus your attention. I mean, if you do this process, this path, or this enchantments, it's not that the enchantment or the process or the path, the magic path does the thing. It's your subconscious, or it's your connection to this outer world, no? So it's not the ritual. It's you.
Not it's a way of formulating your intention with
exactly.
Right.
Most of the time, unless you're yes, unless you're working with entities, but well, that's another thing, no?
Right.
But the general magic, the regular magic, is you. So I say to that to this.
I get
no?
that.
Yes.
Well, and I think that's why Neville Goddard is so powerful, because he's speaking to that programming.
Yes.
He's going to that subconscious programming when we were kids and we were told about Noah's Ark and in the biblical programming. And so we may be triggered by it, but at the same time, when we access it, it's a part of our subconscious.
Yes, definitely.
Which is what is powerful about it.
Yes, it is.
It's very interesting. So I could talk about this stuff forever. Now, have you accessed the Saint Germain I Am Disclosures, any of those books or anything like that?
No, I read about Saint Germain. I mean, I heard about Saint Germain, but I haven't read it.
Okay. Yes. And Alice Bailey, she was. Have you accessed any of those? She was channeling somebody from the Himalayas. That it's a lot. She wrote all these books about.
No, I don't know her. Once another resource that I can recommend is John Rappaport. Who is John Rappaport? People know him as a political journalist. So he has his own site. What's the name of his site? He has two sites, but one is nomorefakenews.com. And the problem with John is that to access these other teachings, right now, recently in the recent years, since Trump and all the stuff, he's very political. So in his newsletter, he talks about a lot of politics, and people think, oh, this is a political writer, not Alex Jones or anything. But beyond that, he's done a good work in the using of imagination and kind of a manifestation work. He's got three programs. These are audio programs. One is called The Matrix Revealed. The other is called Exit in the Matrix or Exit the Matrix.
Right.
And the third one is called Power Outside the Matrix. And those programs are very good because he teaches a lot about imagination. But he teaches about imagination in the sense of the Tibetan teachings, that you can create something out of nothing. And he said that the original Tibetans, he's got a book. I will send it to you, the book too. Let me if I have that book yet in PDF. But those courses are good because his method of teaching this manifestation thing is about projecting energy out in the space, in your environment. He recommends you that you think about what you want, and you get out and you start inhaling and exhaling and projecting what you want out there, over cars, over the street, over the lights, or whatever, during a significant period of time, and you can manifest. So that's another good resource.
Kind of like Zeland's reality projector. People don't talk about that, but that is what he's talking about.
Exactly.
Projecting your energy.
Yes. Project, exactly. Yes, it's the same.
I can't wait till they get a better translation of that one.
Hopefully, yes. That book's very interesting.
It
is.
I'm
reading it right now in a very, very rough translation.
The one I have is terrible, right?
It's very broken.
Right.
So I can, yes.
But Zeland clearly is using it. He's concerned about energy. He's with the food he eats. He does do the 5 Tibetans. You can see that he's doing that, right? So so that's part of it. But it's I'm trying to. I know that I'm gonna forget something, and when we're done with the phone with this conversation, I'm sure I'll remember something I should have brought up, because all of it fascinates me. It's really fun to talk to somebody else that's interested in this stuff. Now, for people that are watching, is there people that want to access it that are Spanish speakers?
Yes.
What would you recommend that people want to access this material? Is there any writers that are in
Well,
the Spanish-speaking realm?
yes. Well, unfortunately, there are not many. Actually, we almost have nothing. I mean,
Well,
at this level.
that
One thing
sounds like
that
that somebody like you needs to put a book out. I think
yeah,
it's time,
probably.
right?
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
It could be. One thing that, as you say, as you asked me, what would you recommend to them? Well, I don't want to sound mean or anything, but I would recommend them to learn English because, I mean, in a shortcut. No? Obviously, hopefully, we have something in Spanish. But yeah, it's sad that we don't have many of these teachings in Spanish. I thank God that I learned English, and well, I mean, I learned English in the school, in basic school. They teach you
Right.
something. But my story is funny because the way I learned, the way I committed to learn English very well, so being able to read books and all the stuff, it started nothing. It had nothing to do with this. It had to do with one part of my life when I started learning about these PUAs. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Pickup artist, the
Pickup
whole
artist. Yes. Back then, I was interested.
You know that the original book where that started,
the game.
with
Yes,
by Neil Strauss,
exactly.
is
So
a classic of American literature of all time.
exactly,
And I
yes.
always tell even girls, you got to read this book.
Yes,
if you're dating, you got to read this
because
book, right?
exactly, yes. So since I was very desperate for dating girls,
Right.
I and back then there were also no many materials in Spanish. I devoured that book, The Game. I was a very fan of David D'Angelo, Ross Jeffries, and many others.
And
So
mystery.
that mystery,
Yeah.
and I mean, and the hundreds that has been after them, no?
Right.
And so I started I committed myself to learn, to practice, to read all these book, reading, and then then I passed that period in my life, and then I continued with this. But yeah, it's as I said, it's a shame that in the Spanish speaking world we don't have many of this.
Right.
We don't have
so my book's going to come out in March, and I'm going to send you a copy.
Thank you very much.
And if you can translate it, I want you to translate it. I would be honored.
Perfect.
I'd love to get it out there.
Count on it.
It's going to talk about the stuff we're talking about in parallel realities, related transurfing, my own experience, because everybody needs to know. Everybody in the world needs to know, not just through me. You can access information. It's kind of universal information. I do think we're at a time. Now, you had mentioned before, what do you think happened with Neville Goddard? Why did he kind of slip away from the attention of the mainstream? He was clearly, have you gone and researched like behind the scenes what happened?
No, there's a book that just came out, and it's by Mitch Horowitz.
I love Mitch Horowitz.
Yeah, exactly. Mitch, he's been very close to Neville teaching. He has read he's got a lot of other books about with Neville. I mean, he
Infinite
read
Potential.
Books about Neville, exactly, and others. So Mitch Horowitz just came out a book from him recently, like a month ago or 2 months. I don't remember the title, but it is. I mean, I think I have it here, but because I download my Kindle, but I downloaded like a preview. Okay, it's here.
Is it the historical background?
It's a very short book because there's not much about Neville. We don't have many information.
We don't know anything about Abdullah.
Yeah, exactly, and we're fascinated with Abdullah. Right. I mean, I would have loved to know Abdullah.
Do you think that Abdullah was created by Neville?
I think so. That's the theory that yes. That's the theory that Mitch defends, no? He said some people get angry with this because they want. Yes, they really want Abdullah to exist, but I think he made it up. But it's okay. I mean, he definitely was into some kind of secret society. That's for sure.
Right. Well,
I would have loved to know.
Israel Regardi says he was with the Rosicrucians.
The Rosicrucians
before, in his article, because he was a friend of Neville, before he started doing his stuff. The Rosicrucians wasn't necessarily a secret society, but they had rituals and exploring the beginning stuff about that. So he might have been into more than that because he was a friend of Israel Regardi. So
exactly, and well, the thing with Israel Regardi is really fascinating because he was with
Aleister Crowley, right?
And with Neville. No, some people, a person said, I don't want to have anything
This is
to do with
dark,
Crowley.
Brian. Why would you even? This is. I saw that. You know, you actually read his real regarding. He wasn't. He was just kind of like you and me, a scholar who met people along the way and kind of documented. Hey, this guy's interesting. You know.
Exactly. This is the book. I don't know if you can.
Oh my God, Magician of the Beautiful. Fantastic. All right.
It's by Mitch Horowitz, and it's the closest thing we have as a biography of Neville. This I haven't read it.
Thank you. I don't know why I haven't seen that. I'm on it.
It's new. It's new. It just came out. It's very new.
Fantastic.
So I will look for. I will read it too.
Yeah.
To know more about Neville. But
yeah.
We don't know much about him. I think what happened is that when he died, but it was, as I was saying before, The Secret. This thing was very niche. And one thing I am eternally grateful to Neville, and this thing gives him legitimacy to Neville, is that he never wanted to transform this or make this into a cult or into an enterprise.
Right. No church.
No church. He only gave lectures.
Right.
Obviously, he charged for the lectures because he had to live from something, but that was it. I mean, he didn't have a secret club, a secret VIP programs for people to learn the secrets of Neville. It was just the lectures. So that is what gives me the confidence to trust him, because it was nothing behind that. Yes.
Right. You get a genuine sense that he just wanted to share this information.
Exactly.
And that is what is powerful.
Exactly. And because of that, once he died, actually, one of the things, and this turned out to be a good thing, one of the things is that we have Neville books freely on the internet, and anyone can print it, is because no one, I don't know how you call this, but with the copyright, you like after a certain period of time, you have to confirm the copyright or something. No one did that, so the books are free now. And that's a good thing because we all can have them.
And I say that to writers out there. Look at what happened to Napoleon Hill. He put his stuff out there, and now he's so popular. Hey, when I die, I'm going to take away because your message goes out there. You know what I'm saying? There's something to that those people we're accessing now, other than So, thank you so much for sharing your time with me. It really means a lot. So everybody, keep an eye out for Benjamin on the group, and if you need questions, if you especially if you're if you speak Spanish and you're looking for somebody to connect with that has knowledge of this information, Benjamin is a great place to go to. But more than that, if you have a question about anything about manifestation, reality creation, law of attraction, go to Benjamin. Benjamin is a good chance that he has read a book or has a reference, and it's great to have that resource. So thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Brian. I enjoyed very much being here.
All right. Well, we will definitely do this again.
Yes.
And thank you. And so send me that stuff. I'll send you the book. It's almost edited. There's just
Don't worry. I'll be glad to do that. Yes.
I would love it if you could do that. So
yes. Thank you very much. And
thank you so much.
Guys. Thank you.